Okay, good morning. We're on Kufi Dal Madat base 114b. We are about a little more than a third from the bottom, from the top of the page. The last word on the line is va'od. So where did we leave off? We left off as follows. In mitzvahs, the mitzvah of eating maror does not necessarily require that you intend to be eating it for the sake of the mitzvah. Now the Mishnah says that you're dipping chazeres twice, which seems to imply that the first time round, because it's not at the time of Marror, you didn't have in mind, therefore you didn't fulfill your obligation, and therefore you have to do it again a second time. To which the Gemara says, no. The Mishnah is only telling you to dip twice so that it arouses the children's curiosity. And that's why you're dipping, having the vegetable dipped in some liquid, salt water or vinegar at the beginning of your Seder when it's unusual to do that, to arouse suspicion. As for the fact that the Mishnah says you're doing it with chazeres, which is a maror vegetable, the Gemara is telling you, even if all you have is chazeres, still do it twice to arouse suspicion. Rather than thinking, because I have chazeres and I'm eating it only one time for maror, I'll eat it one time for maror and that's it, because I need to eat it for maror. Mishnah says, no, eat it twice if that's all that's available to you. So the fact that the Mishnah says chazeres is not because you're supposed to do chazeres twice and the first chazeres doesn't count for matz, doesn't count for maror. But because even if you only have chazeres, you should still be dipping it twice to arouse suspicion. It's the even. Yeah, that's where we left off. Morning hour.
Morning.
So the Mishnah then, the Gemara now continues and says, additionally, Tanya, we have a Mishnaic text that actually tells us outright that you can fulfill your obligation to eat maror even if you're not intending to. Just by the very fact that you ate it, you fulfill your obligation. Here's the text. It reads, you have the place there? Yeah. Achlan demai. If a person ate maror using vegetables that was what's called demai. Demai are, right, one is not allowed to eat from vegetables that have not been properly tithed. And demai is vegetables that you purchase from someone and you're not sure if they're the kind of people who tithe or not. So you tithe on doubt. Now, ordinarily, we don't eat demai because maybe it hasn't been tithed. We don't eat unless we've tithed it ourselves in doubt because you bought it from someone and we're not sure if they tithed. However, the halacha is that if if one is so poor that giving away that tithe would affect their livelihood because they're in such a destitute state, then these persons are exempt from tithing demai. They're allowed to eat demai. So I am not such a person. I thank God can afford more than the demai. So I am obligated to tithe it. But nonetheless, if I ate a demai vegetable for my maror, I would still fulfill my obligation. Why is that? Because theoretically, I could render all of my belongings ownerless except for this demai. And if I did that, I would be a qualified pauper that is allowed to eat demai. And therefore, because hypothetically, I could put myself in a position in which I'm allowed to eat this demai, therefore, because of that, even if I didn't do that, but because I could do that, by eating the demai, I still fulfill my obligation for maror. That's statement number one from the Mishnaic text. Yatsa, you fulfill your obligation even though you only ate demai. Here's the main point. The Mishnaic text reads, if you ate maror without intention for eating it for the sake of the mitzvah, you ate it just because you like it, or whatever other reason, Yatsa, you fulfilled your obligation. Here's a Mishnaic text outright that says that you don't have to be intentional about eating the maror in order to, of course you should be. But if you don't, you still fulfill your obligation. Likewise, this Mishnah text concludes, if you ate the maror in halves, so you ate one half of the maror and then waited and then ate the other half, Yotza, you fulfilled your obligation. So long as you haven't waited between the two eatings the amount of time that it would be considered two separate eatings distinct. In other words, something like that. In other words, in order to fulfill your obligation for eating something, matzah, maror, whatever, it has to be a single unit of eating and a single unit of time. So it's like a meal, right? So you have to have the minimum requirement of a meal to be eaten within the minimum amount of time that constitutes eating a single eating. That's right. It's relevant to Yom Kippur also, because if you split the eatings and they're so far apart, it's not a singular eating. They don't combine to make you liable. It's still forbidden, but it doesn't make you liable for kares. That's correct. So a person who is sick and needs to eat, we will try first to separate the eating between such times that at least they're not violating Yom Kippur to the point that they would be liable for kares for excision. So same thing here is in their obligation part. In order to fulfill my obligation of both eating matzah and maror, the unit of eating must be within a unit of time that renders it a singular eating. Therefore, even if the maror is eaten in halves, so long as it's eating within that time frame, the time frame of achilas pras, the time frame of a singular unit of eating, then it is okay. Okay, but the main point, yeah.
Wouldn't be a half eaten for dipping.
No, unrelated. Here, this Mishnah text doesn't discuss dipping. It just discusses maror. It says 3 halachas. Number one, you can eat the maror even though the vegetable is from demai, because you have a way out that you could make yourself allowed to eat it if you were to render all of your stuff ownerless. That's halacha 1 from this Mishnah text. Halacha 2 from this Mishnah text, that you fulfilled your obligation even if you had no intent of fulfilling the obligation just by eating it. And 3, you can eat it in 2 halves so long as it's within the time frame of a singular unit of eating. Okay, so this poses a challenge to Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish posited that mitzvahs require intentionality, derived from our Mishnah, because our Mishnah said you're eating chazeres twice. And Reish Lakish argued, if the Mishnah is requiring you to eat it a second time, at the time of maror eating, is because the first time when you ate the chazeres, you didn't fulfill your obligation, because you didn't have in mind. So this Mishnah text poses a direct challenge, because here the Mishnah text says outright that you don't have to have intentionality when you eat that maror. So this poses a challenge to Reish Lakish's position. To which the Gemara says, relax. Tanoi, it is a Mishnaic dispute. In the same way, we have a dispute here between Reish Lakish and who is the counter view? Gemara doesn't give a counter view, but there's Reish Lakish and the counter view. Reish Lakish of the view that you must have intentionality when you eat the maror. The counter view that we seem to be following is you don't have to have intentionality, which this is a dispute in our generation, the Amaraic Talmud Gemara generation. Says the Gemara, this dispute predates us. It goes back to the Mishnaic era, because we have one Mishnaic era we have one Mishnaic text we just read, which says outright you don't need to have intentionality. And now I'm going to cite to a different Mishnaic text, which implies you do have to have intentionality. Yeah, the Tanya, for we learned in a Mishnaic age text, quote, Rabbi Yossi says, even though you've already dipped once, the first time after your kiddush, what we call karpas, you dip that using chazeres, which is the maror vegetable. Mitzvah, it is still a mitzvah, lahavi lefanav, to bring before him chazeres, another portion of chazeres, the maror vegetable, v'charoises, the dip, v'shnei tavshilin, and 2 cooked items. So Rabbi Yossi says that outright. Even if at time number 1 you use chazeres, you still have to bring chazeres again.
Well, right? It's funny in this case because even though they have different opinions about whether they need intentionality or not, the outcome is the same, because
you have to do twice.
Everybody's arguing that you don't have intentionality
the first time. One second.
So the outcome.
So wait, 1 second. So what you're saying is Rabbi Yossi is saying the same thing as our Mishnah, and our Mishnah, Reish Lakish already explained that the reason why you have to do it twice is to confuse the children, not because you need intentionality. No, sorry. Our counter argument, not Reish Lakish. The counter argument to Reish Lakish said that our Mishnah is saying that mitzvahs do not need intentionality, but you're still dipping twice for the sake of confusing the children, for the sake of arousing curiosity from the children. So why not the same thing with Rabbi Yossi here? How does Rabbi Yossi prove that you need to have intentionality? Like your shlokish, yes. That.
Oh, how do you prove? Yeah.
Right. The Gemara is one second. The Gemara is citing to Rabbi Yossi to tell us that here's a Mishnaic view that supports Rabbi Shlokish that you have to have intentionality. Why? Because it says even though you dipped chazeres the first time, it's a mitzvah to bring the chazeres the second time.
You didn't have intentionality the first time.
Right, which proves there's exactly. So that proves Reish Lakish's position that you have to have intentionality.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's right.
Even though they have different positions, the outcomes.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not.
You don't have the intention to have.
No? Again, in opinion which says you don't have to have intentionality. When you dip the first time in chazeres, did you fulfill your obligation for Marror? Answer yes. Why are you doing it a second time? Raise curiosity. According to opinion B, the first time you did it, you did not fulfill your obligation. That when you did to arouse suspicion. Second time, for mitzvah. Right? Which would raise the question about what bracha you make, which we'll get to in a minute. Right? But the question is, when did you fulfill your obligation? First time or second time? In opinion,
obligation for the
Marror. For the obligation for the mitzvah of Marror. If you don't require intentionality, then you did it the first time. Because you don't require intentionality. You ate the Marror already.
Yeah, but you always repeat. You always repeat and do it. You don't.
Who's
you
the
don't
you
rely,
always?
You never. The Seder never relies on the first.
You're imposing our version of the Seder onto the Gemara. In Gemara's view here, right? In other words, don't forget what we do. What's the Gemara telling us? The Gemara is telling us that if you don't require intentionality, if you use lettuce for karpas, you fulfill your obligation for Marror. Because unless you had an explicit intentionality that I'm not doing the mitzvah, but if you did so without any intention, you fulfilled your obligation. Second time round is only to arouse curiosity. But that would mean that bracha somehow has to change. We'll get to that.
No, I understood, because sometimes you're
following. Okay, right. So now let's bring it to where the Gemara is in this flow.
You're saying that there was a dispute even during the Mishnah.
Yes, so that's what we're doing now. So let's bring us to where we are in the actual flow of the Gemara. Right? The Gemara began. We have a dispute now from the post Talmudic era, from the Gemara era. Reish Lakish posited, based on our Mishnah, that you require intentionality. How do I know you need intentionality? Because the Mishnah told us to do it twice. Counter argument: you don't need intentionality. Why twice? Arouse suspicion. If so, why are we being told chazeres? Even if it's chazeres, you need twice. Good. Now this Mishnah text says, right, and another Mishnah, there was a Mishnah text cited too, which backs up that position, which says that even if you had no intentionality, you fulfill your obligation. Straight up.
Is that with the Demai?
That, along with two other statements about Demai and eating it in two parts. But the main point is that the statement number 2 was, amongst 3, was you don't need intentionality. Okay.
It was a straight out,
outright. You can't be exactly. It's right. It's straight up. If you have no intentionality, you still fulfill your obligation. No qualifiers. No insinuation. Outright.
A Mishnah passed that counter.
1 second. Let's go. Let's follow the Gemara. Wait. Let's follow the Gemara's pattern. Yeah. To which the Gemara counters and says, "Relax. I have another Mishnah text that counters that." Okay. What's the Mishnah text that counters that? Here's what it says. Rabbi Yossi said, quote, even if the first time you dipped, you use Marror, you use chazeres, it's a mitzvah to bring chazeres again. Even though you dipped chazeres number 1, mitzvah to bring chazeres again. Means the first time you didn't do the mitzvah. To which the Gemara asks, see where we are now? Okay, now says the Gemara, we can push.
He had intentionality.
He didn't, because he's not required. What? No.
Okay, I got it.
Why are you saying he had intentionality? Even if the first time around you did it, you used lettuce, which means you didn't have intentionality, because you did it for karpas, it's still a mitzvah to do it again. Right? Okay.
Okay, good.
We can't assume that the first time you dipped in Marror after Kiddush, you did it for the intentionality of Marror. We assume actually you didn't, because Marror time is only when you have it with matzah. And you're not having matzah till after you read the Haggadah. So the assumption is you didn't have intentionality. Right? And he says, mitzvah, do it again. Mitzvah to bring it again. Oh, means you need intentionality. Okay? Which the Gemara challenges, Vakati, but yet we can still push further and say, Mimai, why are you so sure that when Rabbi Yossi says bring it again, even though you did it the first time, it's because you need to have intentionality. And that would support Reish Lakish's position. Dilma, perhaps, Kasav Rabbi Yossi is of the view, mitzvahs ain't tzrichas kavana. Actually, perhaps, Rabbi Yossi agrees, you don't need to have intentionality, which means when you dip the first time with chazeres, you did fulfill your obligation for Marror. As for the fact that he says you have to bring another chazeres, what would be the answer?
Because the first time you did it for the children.
No. Again, if you don't need intentionality, we don't care why you did it. The question is, why are we making you do it again?
Because for the bracha, for the mitzvah.
You did the mitzvah already. You don't need intentionality, which means you did it. We don't care what you were thinking. We'll get to that later. You don't need a bracha to fulfill the mitzvah. If I put on film without a bracha, I still did the mitzvah. The bracha is to thank you, Hashem, for the mitzvah. No. To make the kids curious, no?
That's what I said first, and you said no.
No, you said the first time around he's doing it for curiosity.
Yeah, the salary, the hazeres.
Okay, again. When you do it round one,
yeah, that's for
if you don't have to have intentionality, we don't care why you were doing it. You did the mitzvah already. The question is, why am I asking you to do it again now? That's for the curiosity of the kids. Your intentionality is irrelevant. Why are we telling you to do it is the question. If your intentionality is important, then the reason why I'm telling you again is because, hey, you have to have intentionality. But if there's no intentionality required, then I don't care why you did it the first time around. You did the mitzvah. Why am I telling you to do a second? To get curiosity from the kids.
But when we do the dipping, it's the first thing.
You dip twice. Both times you dip. Once in the salt water, once in charesis, but they're both dipping. Follow? Follow?
Thinking.
So again, sorry? Let's understand something.
The dipping was done in the first instance, right? You're saying it's dipping in hot.
Which one brings the kids' curiosity? What brings the kids' curiosity? Well, then, let's just say that's the answer. But if you don't need intentionality for Marror, and you did the mitzvah anyway, so you did it because you wanted to bring curiosity to the kid. That's why you did it. But if I'm of the position that says you don't need intentionality for Marror, did you do the mitzvah Marror then?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So why do it again? Because there's a curiosity it's aroused by the fact that I do it twice. So do it a second time. Which means the second time is for the curiosity. What you had in mind is irrelevant. You follow? Exactly. See, there we go. Exactly. If
reshape my brain on how it works.
That's right. You can't. We are after all these conclusions already. We are after all these conclusions, right? So how do we get to this conclusion that we have? So let's think about it again. If I'm of the position that you need to have intentionality,
other reason why you would do it again.
Oh, so exactly. So if I require intentionality, then the first time around when I did it, because the Seder said to do so, I have to do it again because I didn't think of Marror Mitzvah, because Marror Mitzvah didn't come to like matzah. I got to do it again. Why was I told the first time to do it? Get curiosity. But if I'm of the opinion that you don't need intentionality, then the first time around, whatever you were thinking, I don't care. Because if you use Marror, you fulfilled your obligation already. Why am I telling you to do it again? In curiosity. So therefore, one second. So now, therefore, you quoted Rabbi Yossi, which says that once you do it twice, you still have to do it a second time, and you're trying to use that as a proof that you need intentionality. That's not a proof. All it tells you is it could be. It's for your curiosity. It doesn't give you a proof to Reish Lakish's position that you need to have intentionality. See?
So then the conclusion is there's a dispute.
No dispute. It seems to be that Reish Lakish has no backing from Mishnah text. Reish Lakish, who says you need to have intentionality, he has no backing. Because the backing you brought up from Rabbi Yossi, which says that if you did it once, you have a mitzvah to do it again, there's not conclusive evidence that you need to have intentionality. It could just be for curiosity's sake. To which the Gemara says, no. Look at the language. In Cain, if so, my mitzvah. When Rabbi Yossi says to do it again, he doesn't say, hey, you should do it again. He said it's a mitzvah to do it again. Curiosity is not a mitzvah. Why would he say it's a mitzvah to do it again? Which mitzvah? We can't walk that logic all the way through.
Well, you said earlier that you don't need the bracha to fulfill the mitzvah.
Correct. So can I make you do it again just for a bracha's sake? No, I can't do that. So that's out, right? Oh, so why would he say it's a mitzvah to do it a second time? If he just said, hey, you did it once, do it again, without using the word mitzvah, then I can conclude the reason you're doing it again is for curiosity's sake, because the first time around you did the mitzvah already. But if
say that because you're saying that you fulfill the mitzvah,
means, Rabbi Yossi's view, you have to have intentionality, and there's the proof for Reish Lakish's position.
Oh, okay. Wow.
There we go. From the fact that Rabbi Yossi says it's a mitzvah to do it a second time, means the first time there wasn't a mitzvah. And there's the backing for Reish Lakish. So now we have a Mishnaic dispute. We had one text that had 3 statements. Statement number 2 was you don't need intentionality for Marror. And we have a Mishnaic text number 2, which is the name of Rabbi Yossi, who says that even though you did the first dipping with Chazeres, it's still a mitzvah to do it again. Not you should do it again for curiosity's sake. It's a mitzvah to do it again.
Means you do need intentionality.
It means you do need intentionality.
Because there are
we'll limit it to yesterday. We'll limit it tomorrow for this for the purposes of this conversation. We'll limit it tomorrow.
Stay there, but I'm saying outside.
We'll limit it tomorrow for the sake of this conversation. Yeah.
Okay.
So clearly,
earlier I said that. Well, you need to make a bracha because I was thinking, I guess, the mitzvah.
It's not because you need to make a bracha.
It wasn't the bracha per se.
Exactly. It's because you need the mitzvah, and the mitzvah will tell you to do a bracha. Right. But it's not because you need the bracha. It's because you need the mitzvah. Yeah. So you're exactly. In other words, so you need the mitzvah, and the mitzvah will tell you, hey, you have to make a bracha.
It's kind of like the leaning case now. We were going back and
oh yes, which one requires what? Does the leaning bring the mitzvah or the mitzvah? Yes, that's right. Which one? And with them was it? They need both, right? They each need each other. Yeah.
They were intertwined.
Yeah.
So what I don't understand is the first time you do it, you're doing it for the sake of a mitzvah. Let's say you don't have the intentionality.
Which mitzvah?
For the Marror.
So you're let's say instead of using the celery or the
I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't want to eat it.
Yes, so you're using Marror instead.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll eat it for the sake of eating it. Okay. So I'll eat it so that's with intention. But the second time around.
What? So 1 second. So you're dipping after Kiddush, you're dipping lettuce into salt water for the intention of eating Marror?
For the intention of the mitzvah.
The mitzvah of Marror?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now the second time around.
Yeah.
I still don't have the intention. I just don't like it. I won't eat it.
You're not eating. I'm confused.
You can't eat it without intention. You can't eat it without intentionality.
When did you have them? How many times did you eat Marror?
I ate it the first time.
By karpas.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't like it. I didn't like it.
And you did it only because there's a mitzvah to have Marror.
That's right.
Okay. Which means at this point you fulfilled your obligation for Marror according to all opinions.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So which means if you decide to eat Marror later after matzah, that's very nice, but you already did your obligation, which means you couldn't make a bracha then.
Yeah. I force-fed myself.
The second time?
I didn't have intention, but I force-fed myself.
The first time or the second time?
First time.
So you didn't have intention to eat Marror?
I didn't have intention because I didn't like it. But I ate it for the sake
liking it's not an intention. Intention doesn't mean I enjoy it. Intention means I am aware of the fact that Hashem obligates me to do this, and therefore I'm doing it. My enjoyment is irrelevant, right? But I'm intending to fulfill the mitzvah. And if that's my intention, then when I eat that Marror the first time, I fulfilled my obligation according to all opinions.
Okay.
And then if I did it a second time, it's only because I have a requirement or a custom to raise curiosity for my children, but not because it's to eat Marror, because I did it already.
Okay.
Certainly in your scenario in which you're describing that you actually did it for the purpose of a mitzvah.
Right.
Right here, the argument is, even if I didn't do it for the intention of a mitzvah, there is the position which says you already fulfilled your obligation. Too late. You can't do the bracha the second time.
Yeah.
Even if you had no intention. At least according to that position. Okay.
But I'm doing for the mitzvah just because I want the extra mitzvah.
Right, but which mitzvah are you thinking of?
The first one.
Which mitzvah? Which commandment in the Torah?
The mitzvah of eating the maror.
Oh, so then I've done the maror. It's finished. Over. I can't do it again. I could do it again,
Yeah.
but it's not a mitzvah anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful day, Yidden. A good Erev Shabbos. No, today's Thursday. Oh,
It's Thursday.
I don't know why I think today's Friday. Okay, so tomorrow, God willing, we'll get to what are the vegetables, right? We have an egg and a shank bone, but we'll see the Gemara has other options, and other people used to do other things different than the way we do it today.
Horseradish.
We're going to see other options: meat, chicken, vegetables,
Onion,
rice,
potato.
gravy. We're going to get to other options the Gemara is going to tell us. Okay, wonderful day, Yidden.